So, welcome to this delicious hour or so with the meaning of ascension. I'm choosing right now just to take a moment of your time before you begin so you can understand the great cost of taking up the spiritual path. Or what you're about to listen to is one of the rare channelings with Jeshua that was actually videotaped back in the last century. And you'll notice that I have hair. Therefore, it's very obvious that if you take up a genuine pathway of spirituality and go through radical transformation, you will lose your hair. And a whole lot more. So, and with all sincerity, I do hope you enjoy the video. Again, it's a vintage, eternal message, and will reveal to you the channeling process, but you'll also get a sense a little bit of who I was and where my energy field was at that time. And hopefully it feels a lot different to you now. A lot freer and lighter and hairless. So there is hope for us all. Enjoy the video and love to hear from you once you watched it. Thank you. Bye-bye. Now we begin. Indeed, greetings unto you, beloved and holy children of light divine. Indeed, greetings unto you, beloved and holy and only Son of God. Indeed, greetings unto you, precious brothers and sisters. And indeed, I come forth from that place which is of perfect peace and of perfect love and of perfect light. And therefore I come forth unto you in this hour from the place in which you abide eternally. Forever the Son of God is one, and the appearances of this world cannot shake that and cannot take your truth and your reality from you. Therefore understand well that I come forth always in joy to abide with you, to walk with you, to celebrate with you the one truth, the one reality that is before time is and shall remain when the purpose of time is completed. Who then am I? I am but what you are, and therefore I come forth from the place in you which is of a perfect remembrance, a remembrance of a reality, given and not created, given and sustained in love. For in truth, the Holy Son of God, being neither male nor female, is but the offspring of God, and God is but love. And therefore, since before time is, you are the offspring of light divine. And if that is what you are, and I assure you that it is, it means that forever you remain that light and that truth and that love. I have said many times that you are your Father's only creation. What then is this world that you would see through the eyes of the body, that you would see through the perceptions that you have constructed out of experiences that you have had? And those experiences stretch back indeed to the very beginning of time, for there's never been a time that you have not been. Therefore, indeed, you have already tasted all worlds and all times, and there is nothing outside of you that you have not already tasted. What then is this world? In reality, it is a world made in error. It is a world that has been made, sprung forth, if you will, from but one thought. And that thought is, I am separate from God, therefore I shall create unlike Him, and I shall be the maker of my own world, and my creations shall not mirror the eternal changeless beauty and love that the Father is. And what more perfect place could there be to house that part of the mind that believes itself to be separate from God than in the appearance of a body? And you all know what that feels like, to truly believe beyond all doubt that you abide within the structure, the space and volume of a body. And therefore you look out through the physical eyes, and at times you believe you see a fearful world. At times you believe that you can be hurt, that things can be taken from you, that there can be gain and loss. And above all, through the perception born of what must be called an illusion, you begin to believe that the peace of God can be taken from you, that the reality of who you are can be threatened. And then there comes complexity upon complexity upon complexity as you strive to create your safety in the world of your perceptions. And you have journeyed countless times through the fields of birth and death, creating bodies, if you will, struggling with them, doing the best you can, always feeling at times a bit of anxiety because you can't seem to quite control this thing, and it always seems to end in death. Friends come and go, projects seem promising and then falter, and in the end, always, there seems to be waiting for you the experience of death. And the mind that would seek peace, the mind that would choose to understand, to know, to transcend, begins its journey with honesty, to look truly at the feelings that are held within, to understand that there is this core of not feeling quite safe in this world, as though you were a stranger here. And yet your world would teach you to struggle to make yourself safe here, to not be a stranger here, to learn how to control this world so that you can find the safety that you seek. That process is what I have called the drama of the illusion of separation. And if you would well receive it, it has all come forth from but one thought, held in the holy mind of the Son of God. And imagine, if you will, a grand light without beginning and without end, vast beyond all imagination. And into that light, one thought emerges: I am separate from my Father. And with the perception born of the belief in that thought, that one light explodes, becomes fragmented into an infinite number of points of light, all seemingly separate one from another, and yet still made of light. With the perception of separation, there is born fear, and with fear there is contraction, and contraction creates density. And the point of light that you become identified with as yours and yours alone and being separate from all others begins to take on the form of what we could call the ego, the small part of your true mind that believes it is your master, that believes it is in control. And indeed, that small part of your mind is where fear resides. It is where contraction resides. It is where the experience of hurt and doubt and confusion resides. And you have become indeed unwittingly identified with that small part of the mind. And yet, the whole while, in reality, no fragmentation has ever occurred. For the Son of God, that grand and vast and perfect light that is the perfect reflection of God's image, which is but love, remains united as one. And in all the journeys of space and time, if you subscribe to the belief in reincarnation, which indeed holds value if it helps you to learn that life is eternal, through all journeys, lifetimes belong not just to you, for if you would well receive it, you have lived the life of every being. For though you would look through your eyes, the eyes of the body, and see other bodies, and therefore draw the conclusion that there must be other minds, other souls, I tell you that in truth, the Son of God remains one. And if that is true, and I assure you that it is, love your neighbor as yourself, because your neighbor is yourself. And when you look upon the face of your brother or sister, learn indeed to begin to look beyond the appearance of the body and see not but the face of Christ before you. For in your recognition of the one that stands before you, you must then acknowledge that it takes the eyes of Christ to recognize the face of Christ. Can you then begin to imagine where time began? It began with you. It began in your holy mind. And if time began there, it resides there. And the end of time is found nowhere but in you. Now, in these journeys, there have been a multitude of experiences, some pleasant, some painful, and they have slowly created for you a construct, a prism, if you will, through which you would view creation. And the process of awakening, the process of the atonement, the process of salvation truly requires not a striving, but an allowing, not a seeking, but a finding. The process of the atonement is the process whereby you remember the truth of your reality and celebrate with me the only fact that has ever truly been. I and my Father are one, now, here. Before, prior, and through all times, I remain the Son of God. The process of the atonement is the process of remembrance, of joining back together what had seemed fragmented. And what joins back together that which has been fragmented? Love. Love. A simple four-letter word in your language, and a rather grand one. Indeed, only love heals. Only love overcomes separation. Only love restores the son to the kingdom of heaven. Only love. And why? Because love is what you are. That is why it is so important to remember that every loving thought is true, and everything else is but a cry for help and for healing. Whether it is something that arises within you or within your brother or sister, rest assured that every such cry truly is coming forth within you. Are you therefore your brother's keeper? Indeed you are. Not out of moral sanction, but because it's the truth. You are your brother. And that is why salvation cannot be found apart from your neighbor. Gone is the time of disappearing into caves, hoping that by focusing your attention on your eyebrows, that somehow you will achieve a great and enlightened state. This time is the time of endings. There is indeed a great quickening going on in the consciousness of mankind, an acceleration of the process of remembrance because mankind desires it. And salvation comes in relationship. For you cannot return into the kingdom by yourself. But as you extend yourself to your brother and sister and embrace them with the arms of the love of Christ that dwells within you, you will bring them to yourself, and together we walk to God. I have come forth in this hour to ask you, to all that will hear these words, to ask you to join with me now in wasting not another moment, but in setting aside the roar and din of the world, in setting aside your fears and your doubts, to begin the practice of claiming the truth of your only reality. I and my Father are one, and where I walk, my Father walks also, and where I am, there is naught but the presence of love. For I have learned how not to tolerate error in myself, and because I choose to be the presence of love, through me, salvation is given unto this world. I have indeed come forth as your friend and as your brother, not as someone above you, and certainly never as someone apart from you. I have come to ask you to join with me in being the light that lights all worlds, in being that love that restores the union of Father and Son. And in that union, indeed, there will be a healing that shall be witnessed upon this plane, in this physical world. And why? Time itself never needed to be created, but it was. And because you have chosen to perceive yourself as separate from God, in time you then remember your union with God. And time is given unto you only that you will use it constructively. And if you would dwell upon it for just a moment, if now in this moment you would abide with me and contemplate this simple question, surely the answer will not be hidden. Can there be any use of time that holds greater value than the practice of remembering that you are the Holy Son of God, that you are safe and in perfect union with Him always? Can there be any purpose to experience unless it be the practice of extending the love of Christ? Not to try to solve your problems, not to seek for the kingdom, but to acknowledge that you have found it. For lo, indeed, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Does that mean it's a physical place that can be found within the body? No. It means that it is within the construct of yourself that you have become identified with. And as you choose to turn your attention from that construct to begin the practice of identifying with the truth of your reality, that light within you begins to outshine first your image of yourself and then the image of your brother. And as that light extends outward, it outshines your ideas of what the world is, what it is for, where it has come from, and where it is going. beloved and holy friends, think not that anything arises by accident. Your world would teach you that accidents abound, that there are coincidences. You just happen to run into a friend at a corner. Hardly. There are some of you that know perfectly well that just behind the appearances of things there is indeed a grand orchestration taking place. And I have called that wisdom, that mind, that one who is the orchestrator, the Holy Spirit, the bridge that brings the son dreaming the dream of separation back into truth and reality. And the bridge is set before you, and he makes straight your path. And if you would receive it, every moment of your experience is a joyous blessing. For it will reveal unto you either the joy of union with God, or it will reveal to you the small corners you are keeping for your illusion that need light to be brought to them. Count then every experience as a blessing and give thanks for it. And your gratitude and your appreciation is what allows your light to outshine the world you have made in error. If light be your home, and if light be your truth, then surely light will outshine all worlds of limitation. The greatest of gifts that you can give to anyone is not to try to fix them, but to forgive them as you forgive yourself, and choose to be only the presence of light. And in that choice, because all minds are joined, you must necessarily be the one who uplifts your brother and your sister. Every time you choose to think a loving thought, every time you choose to look past circumstances and appearances to see the face of Christ in your holy brother or sister, you are the power and the light and the truth that uplifts and heals the whole of creation. That is the power that is given unto you and has been with you since before time began. And because nothing arises by accident, it is not by accident that those of you that are here find yourself here. Out of curiosity, perhaps you have come. That is an appearance. Behind it, there is a place where all minds communicate. Some of you seem to be more aware of that than others. That doesn't matter, because in the end, there will be perfect knowledge. I want you to understand that there will be no one who witnesses this, what you call tape, and hear these words, who has not already been in communication with me, who I will not guide to hear these words. And yes, that means that everything the human mind has ever created is used by the love of God as the very stepping stones that must bring the whole of creation back into remembrance of perfect union. There is but the slightest of differences between you and me. And the difference is simply this. As a man, I remembered my role in the atonement and lived it. And the only difference between us seems to be a difference of time, but not of quality of our being, for we are equal. And there is but one curriculum to master, and it is given unto you to have the freedom to decide when you will learn it. But the choice is not yours whether or not to learn it. The time comes very quickly, and some of you know what I'm talking about. in which the curriculum will be mastered, will be learned very, very quickly, and more quickly as more and more learn it. And why? Because of miracles. Miracles indeed shorten the need for time itself. And you are miracle workers. You are the presence of light in this world, as everyone is. But while time yet seems to continue, it is given unto you to be the demonstration of one who has allowed correction to come to their mind, so that they see no longer a fearful world, so that they see no longer separation between themselves and others, that they see only the presence of the face of Christ. And indeed, miracles are given to you to be extended and expressed through you. And the awakened Son of God looks upon every moment of every day, and if miracles aren't occurring, he pauses and takes a deep breath and allows correction to come to his mind. He doesn't try to fix it, he gives it to the Holy Spirit. For the awakened Son of God knows that every moment is miraculous when that mind abides as the presence of love. I want to share with you in this hour that there is indeed a grand orchestration occurring. Where does it occur? In a mind outside of yours? Not at all. For if you would well receive it, from the moment of that first thought of separation, already the Father has healed that separation, and time is but the enactment of separation and its healing. That means that you will witness in time a growth of miracles, an expansion of miracles. And there will be established once again the kingdom of heaven on earth. Is that the end of the journey? Hardly. But it is the correction of an unhappy dream into a very happy one, in which no longer shall be seen judgment and fear and doubt and anger and distrust. Indeed, brotherhood of man. And when the sun is reawakened in all minds, the light of Christ will shine so brightly that even this world, having completed its purpose, shall be dissolved in light and shall be seen no more. It is not possible to speak of that hour and that day, only to say, trust that it is quickly coming to pass. And who has proclaimed it? Who has decreed it? You have. You have. That deep part of your mind that has never left union with God. That deep part of your mind that is the mind of Christ has already collaborated with all minds to bring about the healing and the atonement. Do I come then to bring the atonement to you? Hardly. I just come to dance with you, to laugh with you, to play with you, to celebrate the rebirthing of the kingdom of heaven. I have said before that God needs you as much as you need God. Can you truly come to understand that? That light which seeks to be reborn and expressed even in the field of time requires your willingness to be reborn. And precious friends, all power is given unto you, all power under heaven and earth is given unto the holy and only begotten and sacred and beautiful child of God, to be restored, to be remembered, to be the light that lights all worlds. And the hour is come, and the time is upon us. The time to set aside all fears and all doubts. The time to allow yourselves to remember the melody of an ancient song that seems to have been forgotten. In truth, though it seems to you that perhaps only a small part of the melody has stayed with you, in reality, the whole of it is within you even now. A song and a melody that speaks of perfect peace. A song and a melody that speaks of power and of grace and of comfort and compassion. And a song that speaks of passion itself. The passion to be the one through whom a new vision can be restored to the mind of mankind. Oh, indeed, I have well watched everyone in this room be touched by a vision that seems to transcend what the small part of your mind can comprehend. And all of you know what it's like to set your dreams aside, to set aside vision because you have been fearful of not having the ability to bring it about. But can you understand that the orchestration that is occurring requires that you be willing to give birth to your visions, the part of the vision given unto each and every one of you, as though the vision of the healing of the Son of God were shining like many great rays of light, touching each mind and each heart, and the Holy Spirit whispering to you in your dreams, please fulfill this tiny part, and it is enough. It is not unlike the part I was asked to fulfill. And in reality, even the gentlest of smiles that you give to your brother or sister, in which you see the face of Christ in them, and therefore set up the field in which their healing can occur, that smile that you offer is every bit as powerful and as miraculous as anything that was ever manifested through me when I walked in your world. Please come to understand that we are equals. Your love can heal this world. Your resistance can only sustain this world. And the question that must be asked is but this: will I choose now to be the one who is awake? Will I choose now, setting aside all anxiety of the future, all fears and judgments of the past, will I choose now, in my perfect freedom, to be the one through whom the light of God lights the world? And if you would know your Father's will for you, where shall I go to bring about the atonement? Open your eyes. Where are you in this moment? And if you find yourself here in this room, then understand here and now is the only place given unto us where we can celebrate the truth that the Holy Son of God is one with God. And the one sitting next to you is the one to whom you can extend the love that lights the world. And if it is true in this moment, it is true in every moment. For you do not walk alone. And what will carry you into a world of perfect peace? Your willingness to extend that peace now, wherever you happen to be. To see no longer ordinary moments, to see no longer mundane experience, to see that everything that happens is sacred and holy and blessed, because you are present within it. You, the holy child of God. When you buy your groceries, you are not experiencing an ordinary moment unless you see through the eyes of the world. But if you would shift just a little bit and see through the eyes that God has given you, you would know that you are the Savior of the world. You are the only one who can bring love to that moment. You are the light shining in darkness. You are the presence of a light that outshines the world. And where you walk, Christ walks with you, because Christ dwells within you as the truth of your only reality now. So what then can be said about the meaning of ascension? By its very nature, the word signifies a lifting up from, a transcendence of. It brings images and pictures of becoming lighter and lighter. And you all know what that is like when you allow gaiety and joy to come into the very cells of the body, and you don't feel as heavy any longer. When you give up seriousness and put your hands on your hips and laugh at the ego. That is already an aspect of the process of ascension. In truth, there is nowhere to go. Because in truth, you are that vast light, that vast mind, in which all worlds arise. And even the body that you think is yours has come forth and arisen within that one perfect light. And knowing neither beginning nor end, you certainly don't move from one place to another, but all movement and appearance of it seems to arise within you. Ascension, then, is the atonement. It does not involve great magical techniques in which you learn how to take this bag of dust and somehow transmute it into light so that you get to rise into the clouds while your brothers and sisters are stuck on the ground. Although, in perfect atonement, there is perfect freedom through which the Holy Spirit can create demonstrations as miracles that catch the attention of others and force them out of their rigidly held perceptions. My resurrection was such a miracle. My appearance to many friends, was really nothing else but a tool to help pry open the mind, to see beyond the appearance of birth and death. Never was it designed so that you would look upon me and think, boy, well, he's a great master and I'm just some schmuck. It was designed only as a demonstration that could reveal to you the truth that must be true for you if it is true for me. Can there then be what is called bodily ascension? Of course. If all worlds can arise, what's an ascension of the physical body? Why is it perceived as something so grand? The fact that you can look upon your brother or sister and actually believe that they are other than yourself, now that is incredible. The ascension of a bag of dust is not a big deal. And in this hour, I've also come forth to bring some correction For there are some perceptions that are getting a little bit out of hand. And there are many who would seek, actually believing that if only they can learn to make the body ascend, that then they will find peace, that then they will find the kingdom of heaven. Without abiding in that kingdom, no possibility for ascension of the body can emerge. Therefore, indeed, understand, you must be the goal you seek now. And in that atonement, all possibilities are reborn. Will you then seek it? No. You will not seek bodily ascension because you will have been delivered from the erroneous perception that you are separate from God and must go somewhere else to get it. And then if the Holy Spirit says, we need a little bit of a demonstration, would you mind? You will say, not my will, but thine be done. And if you're asked to just be a street sweeper, you will indeed say, not my will, but thine. Why? Because the Holy Son of God can go nowhere and experience nothing that separates him from the love of God. The meaning of ascension is found in your willingness to be the presence of peace. To see with timelessness. To see with unconditional love. To see through a perception that has been corrected, so that you know your safety does not rest within the body or within the world, but indeed it rests in the perfect knowledge given unto you since before time is. You are home now. Right now. You are one with God. There's not one thing you must fix. There's not one thing you must seek, save to allow correction to be reborn in the mind. And what happens when correction comes? Some of you know perfectly well what happens. The past is gone, and all the pain of it. Though the memories may come, somehow it's been translated. And no longer do you feel the burden upon the heart, but there is a spaciousness and emptiness in which only light abides, and no shadow do you keep a grip upon, for you have released them all to the light of God, and they have been healed and removed from you forever. And what you do surprises even you. And when others look upon you and say, oh, you're so grand, what a marvelous thing you're doing on this planet. Thank you so much. You look them in the eye and you say, perhaps in different words, of myself I do nothing, but my Father through me does all things. That's how simple it is. I gave up efforting, I gave up striving, I threw in the towel of trying to be the maker and the doer. And I became the allower. I became the celebrator. I became the truster. And whenever my mind began to get into striving and effort, I remembered that my thoughts do not mean anything. And I remembered to choose peace. And in that peace, a light began to be remembered, and the song played more loudly. And that light has outshone all of my dreams of separation and of fear and of doubt. And I abide in that light, and holy friend, if I abide in it, so do you. Let us journey into it together. I will extend my hand to you for however long it takes until you see that the light is in you also. That is the perception you will hold of yourself and of your brother. And if you would well receive it, it is given unto you now, to receive the only truth that has ever existed. To be the one who proclaims, I and my Father are one. For when those words become yours with every fiber of your being, the atonement is completed on earth as it has already been completed in heaven. Remembrance has been restored. To those of you who know of those who would seek to find ways to create an ascension for the physical body, go and tell them that they've already completed it. And now is the time to release striving. It is love that will heal this world. Love abides in its own presence and in its own certainty and in a holy and ancient knowledge. You cannot seek for love and you cannot find it. You can desire it, and your intention can become so pure that nothing else distracts you. And in the end, love can only be allowed to be extended through you. You cannot be the one who is the creator of love. You can't puff yourself up with it so that you can give it away. There are no magical techniques that will build its power within you. It's already given to you freely. And miracles, therefore, must occur naturally to minds that teach only love, that teach only love, that teach only love, because there's no dark corners of the mind left that you have sought to save for yourself. I come in this hour to ask you to be that one who from this hour forward will indeed teach only love, will be the one who knows and lives the fact that all needs are already met, to be the one whose mind is corrected, to whom sanity is restored. For when you walk in this world for such a short time, as the presence of only peace, you will affect everyone who enters your domain. They may not understand it. They may indeed think it's because of your body that they're attracted to you. They may think it's because of the wisdom that seems to pour forth through your mouth, although you won't remember what you said when you're done, because it's not you doing the talking. But they will feel the presence of peace, and it must necessarily touch that place of peace in them. And when that window opens, light rushes in, and their process of awakening can deepen, continue, or perhaps begin. Please understand that the ascension has been completed, waiting only on your remembrance. That you are not something separate that must be taken somewhere or must experience some exalted state, so then you can say, ah, now I've got it. The exalted state of the rebirth of the kingdom of heaven on earth waits on your acceptance of what is true now. Can you imagine what it would be like if tomorrow you walked through this world and every time your brother or sister said, "Oh God, life is such a bummer, isn't it just terrible? What about that presidential election?" And you chose not to participate in that energy. Not that you pick up yourself and run from them, but that you transcend that limitation and shine forth only love and peace. You will know what to say, because the world's words will be given unto you, even as they were always given unto me. Know you that which is called the Sermon on the Mount? When those words poured forth, afterwards some of those friends that the world has mistakenly called my disciples came up to me and said, "Oh Lord, that was so beautiful, it was so incredible." And I looked at them and said, "What did I say?" It wasn't planned. I am not the doer or the maker. Of myself I do nothing. The Father through me does all things. And it was awfully difficult to get them to understand that, because the ego needs to set others on pedestals, because it fears recognizing that the same power dwells within it. You will be the one spotting forth sermons on the Mount. They may be sermons in parking lots. They may be sermons in grocery stores. Does it matter? One temple is as good as another. I ask you, as your brother and as your friend, to begin to contemplate your willingness to join with me in the atonement. Not by needing it, but from the foundation of your recognition that it is already completed within you. Some of you know what it means to be taught that you must honor me, as if I am separate from you. But I say unto you, he that does not honor the Son that dwells in fullness within their own heart, in no wise honors me. No matter how many prayers, no matter how much supplication is given unto images of me made in the minds of mankind. But when you, the Holy Son of God, honor the Christ that lives within you, indeed let it be known that you have honored me as your brother, as your friend, and as your equal. And if that sounds like sacrilege to your world, then so be it. I can't help it, because it's the truth. I did not come to proclaim myself your Savior. I came to proclaim the salvation that has already occurred within you. I came to mirror to you the truth of your being. And unto as many as would choose to see me as their equal, because I am in charge of the atonement, do I give forth the ability to pry open every last corner of the mind and heart, so that you are indeed restored in the image of the Son of God. And if that happens to involve healing of the body, so be it. Unto you there is extended in this hour the choice to choose with me to be the presence of the atonement. And in this, ascension is already completed. And every time you choose joy, every time you choose gratitude, every time you choose unlimitedness, every time you choose to allow vision to be your guide, you walk with me. and we walk together in the kingdom of heaven. Understand well, then, there is not one corner of your life that cannot be transformed if there's a need for it, when you choose love instead of fear. For love begets healing. Fear must necessarily deny it. And that love is in you now. When I said to a group of friends, "Go forth and teach all nations," all I said to them was, "Go forth and teach only love. For by teaching it, you must necessarily learn it. And as you witness the miracle of the extension of love through you and what it does in the life of your brother and sister, you must necessarily then know that the miracle has already occurred within you. And that is the process whereby your fearful dreams are translated into dreams of safety. And as you see that you are safe, you open more and more, and the power of miracles, the power of light, can flow through you ever more freely. That is the importance for you of choosing to teach only love. To feel a passionate desire to be the presence of love, not to settle for anything else ever again. For your choice to settle for less than love has given birth to all worlds that have mirrored the illusion of separation from God. And you know that you know those worlds well. You've tried every byway and every dead end. Live with a passion to be the presence of love. And if one says unto you, "Lo, the kingdom is here," and another says, "No, it is there," stop and smile and say, "Precious friends, the kingdom of heaven is within me, as it is within you. Let us therefore rejoice and be glad in this day, for in this moment it is given unto us to be the light of the world. And wherever two or more of us come together, Christ abides. And there can be no greater or more sacred place on earth than a place in which minds have joined in love, having set aside an ancient hatred born from fear, born from separation. Walk then in this world and understand that everywhere you go, everywhere, the minds of mankind are crying out for the opportunity to join in that sacred union, the holy instant that heals the illusions of separation. In your hands there is a pearl of great price. It is in your hand, and everywhere you go, you can extend that hand to everyone you see. No matter what they're doing, no matter what they say about you, none of that matters a bit. How can the opinion of an insane mind matter? I've told many, it's time to live a bit outrageously. A time to dance, a time to sing, a time to play. These things I did daily when I walked upon this earth. And I was only serious to the degree that the one in front of me could speak no other language but seriousness, until they learned the language of laughter and play and simplicity and ease. For my way is easy and my burden light. My cross is not heavy, it is made of light. Therefore take up your cross and follow me. Come and join the dance. come and join the dance in which you realize, my God, I am an ascended master. Right here, in what you call the name of this village, Berkeley. Right here, an ascended master walks. And it goes by your name. Does that sound arrogant? The only thing that has ever been arrogant is that you dared to believe that you are something other than what God created you to be. Now that requires great arrogance. Do you see the great paradox then? For the truth of the kingdom is diametrically opposed to every perception the world has ever sought to teach you. It takes great humility to say, I and my Father are one, because you have to give up the world. You have to be the one courageous enough to speak the truth. It is the height of arrogance to believe that you have ever sinned against God. It is the height of arrogance to believe that you are guilty, that you are not capable of fixing yourself, that somehow you're not even worthy of it. Father, beat me and whip me, for I have sinned. That one's been played out, and some of you have memories of what you would perceive as lifetimes in which you know what it means to flog the body. It wasn't a lot of fun. Are you willing to join with me in the outrageousness of a divine humility in which you simply set aside every conformity to the beliefs of the world and simply say to your friends, I can't play the game any longer. And they'll look at you and say, what do you mean? Well, I'm the Son of God. I've been trying to pretend I'm something else, but it's exhausted me. So I give it up. Father, live through me. And they will indeed look at you with a bit of an incredulous look. And one of the eyebrows might go up. So what? In that moment, because of your willingness to be what they will perceive as arrogant and outrageous, a window has opened. A window has opened. A window is open because for just a moment, you stop their mind. Unknown to them, you have been the one who turned their attention from the roar and the din and the insanity of the illusory world to the real world. Now, will they get it? They might. They might call you crazy. They might leave your life, the life of the body. But you have a saying in your world that nature abhors a vacuum, and if that is true for nature, it is indeed true for God. Never fear loss, for what is of true value can never be taken from you. It can only be added to you. As you teach love, all that is truly valueless must necessarily drop from you. Gently perhaps at times seemingly not so gently. But understand that in those moments it's only a resistance to letting go that creates the feeling of struggle. And suddenly, the hour of your rebirth is upon you. And you will look around for your past and find that it's no longer with you. You will look for your doubts and your confusions, and you will be startled because you won't be able to find them. And suddenly you will know that the miracle has occurred. The atonement has been completed. It has come as a thief in the night. And while you are sleeping, It stole the cobwebs of all shadows long since outgrown. And you have awakened in the morning of a new day, and behold, your cupboards are bare of what you thought held value. And in its place is a feast set before the only begotten Son of God, a feast without beginning and without end, a feast to which your Father invites you to return as the guest of honor. And the prodigal son has indeed returned, and he sits down at his father's table, and lo, all he looks upon is good. And you will raise the chalice to your lips, and you will drink of a certain elixir called love, called salvation, called awakening. Enlightenment, it goes by many words. It's really all the same. And then you will put the chalice back on the table, and you will look your Father right in the eye, and together with him you will laugh as you have never laughed before. And your laughter will be the song that is echoed out like a vibration through every molecule of creation. Your laughter will shift the vibration of creation, and light will pour into every molecule until it becomes, once again, as light itself. That is the meaning of the true ascension. It signifies the moment when the Holy Son of God has been restored completely. Will it come tomorrow? It might. Does it seem a long way off? Remember, such a perception is born in time, but miracles shorten the need for time. How then to create the miracles that shorten time? By acknowledging that the atonement is complete within you now. Do you see how that all begins to make sense? Gone is the time for praying for saviors. Gone is the time of looking to the future when the Son of God would return. Now is the time spoken of in many cultures and in many ways and in all epochs that have ever been. The truth has always been spoken. That time is at hand. I gave forth a promise that in that day I would indeed return. And though I sought to make it clear, there were many who did not understand. Let it be known that I have returned. I have returned not only to join with the mind of this my beloved brother who finally threw in the towel because he couldn't figure it all out. I have come forth with an ancient friend that some of you know by the first name of Helen. I have come forth through what you would perceive as 2003 friends who are currently serving somewhere on this globe as what are called in your language channels. And I serve with many others in many, many ways. For the promise I gave has been kept. I have returned because I love you. In truth, I never went anywhere. And I have worked without ceasing to whisper to you in your dreams, to gently guide you to the left when you thought you were going to the right. I have come to you because you have been given me of my Father, even as there are already those who are, shall we say, assigned to you, and will come to you when you allow, through your willingness, the recognition of the atonement's completion to be remembered in you. There are many who are waiting for you, who will be sent to you in ways that you cannot begin to comprehend. And through you, the very same work will take place, even as this work has occurred through me. Do you begin to get the picture? There's a network, if you will, being created, in which the Father who has loved me gives unto me the power to give that love to you. And in your receiving of it, it is given unto you the power to give it to another. And that giving is the miracle that heals the need for time. You do not walk alone, and you cannot take a step without me. For I promise you this, even as I said unto you then, I say it again, I am with you always, and I shall give you my strength until yours is certain. Think it not a burden that you would call upon me, for you are worthy of all the love that I could ever possibly extend. And that love is but the love of our Father. You are worthy of that love. There is not a decision you must make alone. There is not a journey you must embark on believing that you are alone. From the moment you know that you are awake in your mornings, before you lift your head from your pillow, I am with you. I cannot force myself upon you, but I come freely and easily to anyone who but opens the door the tiniest of cracks, who throws in the towel and says, okay, come and teach me anew. Does that make me your Savior? No. It makes me your friend. Please go and tell the world I am only its friend. Please tell them it's time to take me down off the walls of their cathedrals. It's time to embrace me and dance with me as a friend. For in an ancient day, to call someone a friend meant that you were committed for all of eternity to seeing only the face of Christ in your brother or sister. A commitment indeed. You are my friends, and I have never ceased seeing only the light within you, waiting for you to acknowledge only that sight within yourself. The ascension is completed. It will be enacted in the field of time as a joyous celebration of what has already been completed. Rest assured that it is even now occurring. Though you don't see it, do you know that in each and every day, more and more minds are suddenly awakening? What seemed to take journeys and the study with what you call the gurus, lifetimes of magical techniques, so that one mind could be illuminated, is now occurring daily, almost effortlessly. And every time a mind awakens, it quickens the awakening of the next mind. That is why some of you have been able to pick up a certain text that you would call a course in miracles. And sometimes just by holding it, you have felt perceptions in your mind healed. That quickening is accelerating. Some of you know what that feels like, and it's going to continue. Every day in your world now, all around this planet, minds are awakening. And they will look for their own. There are many who are beginning to feel a call to what could be called community, a call to join with those of like mind and like heart. And even as I say that, there are many in this room nodding their internal heads. Oh yes, I feel that. Because the knowledge of how the ascension, the atonement, is going to be reflected is already within you. And because it is dawning within you, you are giving forth your willingness to participate in the script long since written. That is what you're feeling. Not a desire to flee anything, but a call. A call that has gone out to every heart and every mind. And who has extended that call? You have. And therefore, you can only awaken to your own call. It is simply my honor to be asked again of my Father to be one who delivers your own telegram to you. Please sign for it, open it, and read it. And when you open it, you'll say, my goodness, this is from myself. Dear me, the time is at hand. Awaken now. Before I've had my breakfast? Yes. Before every breath you breathe, before every thought you think, give thanks unto God, because the Father has been the power through which the Son is restored to his rightful place. And you have taken up your place at the right hand of God. What does that image mean? It means right-mindedness. And that's all. It has nothing to do with physical location at all. The right hand of God is right-mindedness. And even now, you are restored. So yes, for a little while, you've been plopped upon your throne, but you seem to be holding on to a different dream. And so you babble a little bit while your Father sits next to you going, yes, yes, waiting. Waiting for you to stop long enough to see where you are now. My goodness, I thought I was in the world. And he leans to you and says, precious son, you are in the real world. The other one was a momentary dream. It has left no trace upon you at any time. And you are together with me, even as it was in the beginning, is now, and forever shall be. We are but one, and I, the Father, see not where I end and you begin. So then what do you do with it all? You accept it. That is the meaning of surrender. I've said that there are 4 keys to the kingdom: desire, intention, allowance, and surrender. Allowance requires some practice. And that practice replaces the practice of striving and efforting and doubting and fearing. Allowance requires trust and faith, acceptance. And as that is learned, you could say you slip into the sea of surrender, but of yourself you do nothing. Surrender is the same thing as the Father's final step for you, in which perception is translated into knowledge. Surrender is indeed death. Surrender is birth. Surrender is the atonement completed in you. And what comes after surrender? It no longer matters. Imagine living each day seemingly in time as your brothers would perceive you, but knowing that you live in eternity. Knowing that whatever transpires this day is just fine. Because you're too busy being the presence of love to worry about the small things of the world. To live in a state of a consciousness in which you have learned the only lesson that must be learned, that there is nothing outside of you. To look from a high mountain upon your great cities, upon your brothers and sisters, upon the very face of this most precious and beautiful planet of yours. To look upon your stars, to see the space between them, the emptiness, the blackness. To think about universes upon universes upon universes upon universes, and dimensions upon dimensions and dimensions and dimensions and dimensions of this dream. And to say, there's nothing outside of me. And to walk in that knowledge. It's the meaning of incarnation. And what follows ascension? Descension. The willingness to be the Word made flesh. To incarnate the truth. That is the final step. That is the final step. Not to seek heaven apart from yourself or somewhere else, but to be the one who brings it into time. That time itself is translated into eternity. Well, there you have it. That's what's happening on this planet. That is what has been happening since first the Son of God held the thought, I am separate. From that moment, everything has been translated into the means that restores the Son to his rightful place. So how do you incarnate the Word of God? By having a very good time. By laughing, by singing, by dancing, by playing. By being the vibration of unlimited joy. Because there's no longer a place in you to allow a trace of heaviness or seriousness. All of that's part of the world, you see. It's not part of you. And as you allow that frequency to be born within you, you will understand what it means to live the atonement, not as a philosophical concept, not even as a belief, not even as an acknowledgement, but as a lived reality. And that reality, if you will, must be lived before this world becomes again nothing but light. And you could say, if I could borrow a saying that I find in the mind of my beloved brother, the joke's on you. You are the ones who are here as the Word made flesh. For a short time, you thought you were something else. And the essential point of this hour, and why I asked that this be created, is to strip from thousands of minds the perception that there is any other choice that can be made. To help minds see it's the only choice left. The choice of love over fear. The choice of seeing that the atonement is completed in them. And the meaning of ascension is now being lived. Indeed. In this, for this hour, we have now come to a completion. And I extend unto each and every one of you my gratitude and my thanks. I want to let you in on a little secret. Though these, my ancient and precious friends, strove and what you would call worked the little tails off, trying to let a whole lot of people know about this, nothing is impossible. And you could say there was a bit of a delay mechanism put in, because it was very important that only certain ones be here. You are those ones. And each in your own way has brought a certain anchor of energy, that's the simplest way to describe it, that actually is participating in a little bit of a miracle, because you are creating something that seems to be on a tape, but let it be known unto everyone who views what you call your tape of what this evening's talk has been about. There is going to be felt, perhaps subtly, perhaps grandly, a bit of what could be called a transmission of energy. And I want to let you know that at some deep level within each and every one of you, even those with the gadgets on their ears, you have chosen from the depth of that mind of wholeness within you to participate in this aspect of the orchestration of the atonement. Each and every one of you. Therefore, unto you I extend my love and my thanks for the beauty and the light and the love and the compassion that lives within you. Thank you, Holy Son of God. For some of you, nothing's going to quite seem the same from this hour. Give thanks for that. And remember, please, I am with you always. Peace be unto the Son of God, who chooses to bring the things of heaven to wed them with the things of earth, that the light of the kingdom might again be extended as far as from the east to the west. Herein is the meaning of the cross, a cross of light, in which the child of Christ dwells with an open heart and arms outstretched, his feet on the earth and his mind in heaven, to demonstrate the reflection of perfect love. Peace be unto you. And for now,